Rio de Janeiro, 2019, a small coastal town that seems peaceful, but deep beneath the surface, dark secrets are about to be exposed. João Moreira, a devoted husband, suddenly notices a strange distance from his wife Mariana. But what he discovers next will shock the whole town. It is not just a simple affair, but the unsuspecting people become the main characters in a terrible tragedy. A video played on a big screen in the middle of a church service ignites the anger in the heart of a betrayed husband. But that is only the beginning of a bloody and cruel chain of events. João was then brutally murdered. What really happened? And who was responsible for this shocking dismemberment? Find out in today's episode of Crime MKT. João Moreira was born and raised in a normal working-class family in the suburbs of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. He was a simple, gentle man who always worked hard to earn a living and support his family. With a calm nature, João never asked for much for himself. He just wanted a simple, peaceful life like everyone else. João's young years passed peacefully, with a steady job at a building materials store and a simple life in the small town where he lived. When João turned 30, on the advice of his family, he agreed to an arranged marriage with Mariana, a young girl from a neighboring family. Mariana Silva, born into a well-off family in central Rio de Janeiro, grew up with a caring family. As an only child, she was always protected and had a comfortable life. Mariana, with her beautiful and elegant appearance, attracted a lot of attention from those around her. But inside, she always felt lonely and emotionally deprived. Since childhood, Mariana was taught to be a traditional woman, taking on the role of a wife and mother in the family. Therefore, when she came of age, her family arranged a marriage with João Moreira, a simple but stable man, hoping that marriage would bring Mariana security and a peaceful life. In early 2018, João Moreira and Mariana Silva officially held their wedding in a small traditional ceremony in the coastal town of Rio de Janeiro. The wedding took place peacefully, full of family and traditional customs, just as both families expected. To everyone around them, their marriage was the perfect combination of stability and tradition. João and Mariana's married life was filled with joy and stability for the first year after their wedding. They enjoyed the sweet moments, built a home with the hope of a long-term future. However, after a year of living together, everything began to change. João became more and more immersed in work, often busy, spending less time with his family. Mariana, who craved attention and affection, gradually felt lonely and lost in her own marriage. The small distances between them grew larger and larger, giving rise to coldness in the relationship. Mariana, who was an emotional woman, began to feel empty as João became increasingly busy with work. João's attention and kind gestures gradually became a luxury in their marriage. She did not know who to share it with, and the church, which she had attended since childhood, became her spiritual support during this time. Mariana began to attend church more regularly, not just on Sundays but also on weeknights. Each time she went, she would sit quietly in the last pew, praying in the hope of finding peace for her troubled soul. The flickering candles in the church only made her feel more alone, but here she felt unjudged, surrounded by a sacred space. Father Felipe, a 40-year-old man with a calm appearance and an ability to understand human psychology, quickly recognized the sadness hidden in Mariana's eyes. He noticed that she came to church more often, but not like the other believers. Every time Mariana sat down after prayer, she was quiet, did not talk to anyone, just sat and watched the church in the dim light. Felipe, with his priestly responsibilities, approached Mariana gently. At first, he only asked her about her family life and comforted her with advice on her faith and how to mend their relationship. But gradually, Felipe's interest became more than just a priestly one and became more personal. Their conversations extended beyond the Mass, becoming more intimate over time. Mariana, feeling lost, began to rely on Felipe's words and presence to fill the void left by João. She felt heard, understood, something she no longer felt from her husband. And it was from these seemingly harmless conversations that a dangerous relationship began to develop between Mariana and Father Felipe, a relationship that she herself did not expect would change her life forever. According to Mariana's confession to João later, the first time she betrayed him was in Father Felipe's small room, located behind the São Pedro church. It was an autumn evening in 2019, when Mariana arrived at the church after a long day of fatigue and frustration with her cold marriage. After the service, Father Felipe invited her into his room to chat, in the name of comfort and spiritual sharing. In that room, with its quiet and private space, amid the comforting words and delicate care, the boundary between priest and believer gradually blurred. Mariana, in a moment of weakness and overwhelming loneliness, could not control herself, and a relationship beyond limits occurred. Oh, that room, which was a place of prayer and seeking peace, became the site of the first betrayal, and from then on, everything changed forever in their lives. After her first betrayal of João in the seclusion of Father Felipe's room, Mariana felt a powerful awakening within her. It was not just a feeling of guilt, but also a feeling of being alive again, as if she had found a part of herself that had long been lost. Felipe, with his calm and dignified appearance, possessed a mysterious charm that Mariana could not resist. In their moments together, she realized that Felipe was not only strong in spirit, but also filled with a passion that she had never felt from João. After that first meeting, their relationship did not stop. Mariana felt the intense excitement of the secret, and she constantly sought ways to be close to Felipe. They began to meet more frequently, not only during evening prayers or after church services, but also more daringly in Mariana's own home. Whenever João went to work at noon, she invited Felipe over. When Felipe arrived, they often took advantage of every minute. Mariana and João's house, once a peaceful haven for the couple, had become a place of sinful secrets. Their encounters took place in Mariana's bedroom, sometimes on the living room sofa, with the door closed to hide any traces. The walls of the house became silent witnesses to their illicit affairs, and Mariana seemed unable to stop. Every time Felipe, Mariana was in a state of excitement and tension, she said. She knew what she was doing was wrong, but Felipe's attraction was too great to resist. The boldness of their encounters made them lose control more and more, and Mariana often glanced at her watch, worried that João might return at any moment. But the sense of danger only served to heighten her excitement. Gradually, their encounters became an indispensable part of Mariana's life. She no longer cared about why she was in this situation, but only immersed herself in a passion she had never felt before. Her relationship with Felipe deepened, and Mariana knew that the path she was on would never be the same again. Around July 2019, João noticed a distinct change in Mariana. She became increasingly distant and frequently left home, using the excuse of going to church to participate in prayer and charity activities. Mariana's late evenings, or her sudden afternoon outings, began to make João feel uneasy. Mariana's superficial answers about the time she spent at church and her change in attitude only made João more suspicious. She stopped spending time with João, and when he tried to ask about her travels, she would give short answers or use religious excuses to avoid him. João, a devoted husband who had always trusted his wife completely, began to sense that something was wrong. Father Felipe, the priest his family had always respected, suddenly appeared more and more in Mariana's stories, making him increasingly worried. Pieces of his wife's actions gradually convinced João that Mariana was hiding a bigger secret. In August 2019, João, tormented by suspicions of his wife's infidelity, decided to take action. While away on business, he secretly installed cameras in the house to monitor his every move in his absence. A few days later, when he checked the videos, João couldn't believe his eyes. He was shocked to see a naked recording of Mariana and Father Felipe on the sofa in the living room. The betrayal took place in the very house he had considered the safest place. Anger welled up in João as he witnessed his wife and the man he once trusted indulging in an illicit affair. Feelings of betrayal and humiliation overwhelmed him, but instead of confronting him immediately, João chose to take revenge in an unexpected way. He began to plan a public revenge to expose the truth, but kept it a secret, not giving any sign to Mariana. The thought of betrayal constantly tormented him, urging him to avenge his shattered pride. On September 15, 2019, Joao was prepared for the moment that he knew would change his life and the lives of those around him. The Sunday Mass at the church was as crowded as ever, with hundreds of parishioners listening attentively to Father Felipe's sermon. No one expected that, in that solemn and sacred atmosphere, a great shock was waiting for them. Joao had spent many nights meticulously planning. He had quietly been tinkering with the church's projection system, preparing for the moment when he would expose the terrible truth about the illicit relationship between his wife, Mariana, and Father Felipe. As Felipe's sermon reached its climax, Joao seized his opportunity. With just a click, the entire large screen behind the pulpit lit up, drawing the eyes of everyone in the church. At first, the explicit, ambiguous images that appeared confused everyone. But in a split second, noise and screams began to ring out as they recognized the two main characters in the video, Mariana and Father Felipe. Naked, they were in an intimate position right on the sofa in Joao's living room. The entire church fell into an eerie silence. No one could believe their eyes. The parishioners were so shocked that they could only stand there, some covering their mouths, others closing their eyes and turning away in disgust and shock. Whispers and screams filled the church like a storm, breaking the sacred peace of the ceremony. Mariana, sitting in the pew with the congregation, felt her face burning and her body collapsing. She kept her head down, not daring to look at anyone. The humiliation weighed heavily on her, suffocating her every breath, making it impossible for her to face the surprised and judgmental eyes around her. As for Father Felipe, who had just finished his devotion standing at the pulpit, he was now petrified. He was completely motionless, unable to speak, his eyes wide open and his body frozen in the face of the scorn of hundreds of parishioners. His usual dignity, his self-confidence, had all vanished in a matter of minutes. Joao, from the back of the church, looked up at the scene he had created with a mixture of satisfaction and unending pain. He did not say anything, did not cause any commotion, but in his heart he knew that his plan of revenge had been carried out perfectly, and Father Felipe had paid the price for this unforgivable betrayal. After the horrific events at the church, nothing could save Joao and Mariana's marriage. Soon after the truth was revealed, Joao filed for divorce. Mariana did not object, knowing that her betrayal had destroyed everything they had. The divorce was swift, painfully but inevitably final. Joao left with a deep sense of hurt, while Mariana bore the brunt of the collapse of her family and community, leaving each with scars that would never heal. The case of Father Felipe quickly became a hot topic in the small coastal community of Rio de Janeiro, and it spread far beyond the town to the entire diocese. The exposure of the video at the São Pedro church caused Felipe's reputation to collapse in an instant. More than just a personal disgrace, the incident shook the faith of parishioners in the church and the sacred values Felipe once represented. News of the scandal could not be covered up, and the bishop of the diocese had no choice but to take drastic action. After a series of closed-door meetings among high-ranking church officials, the decision was made Father Felipe was severely disciplined. In October 2019, he was officially expelled from the church, stripped of all his rights and positions in the church. This was the most severe punishment ever imposed on a once trusted and respected priest. Felipe's passing was quiet, but the repercussions of the incident still reverberate. Parishioners who once revered him turned their backs on him, and many in the community felt betrayed and lost faith in the man they once considered their spiritual leader. Felipe was stripped of not only his position, but of everything he had built respect, trust, and standing in the community. After being expelled from the church, Felipe fell into a state of depression. He was forced to live as a recluse in a small house in the suburbs, far from the town where he had served. The parishioners were unforgiving, and gossip and ridicule followed him everywhere. When he went out, he had to endure the contemptuous looks and rejection of those who had admired him. Although the affair was exposed to the community and Philippe was expelled from the church, there were rumors that the relationship between him and Mariana had not ended. After leaving the parish, Philippe and Mariana were said to have continued to meet secretly, away from public attention. The secret meetings took place in private places, out of sight of acquaintances. Rumors of their continued relationship were never officially confirmed, but in a small town like São Pedro, secrets are hard to keep for long. Despite being exposed and dishonored, Philippe and Mariana seemed unable to let go of each other, prolonging their days in the shadows. Things seemed to have calmed down after the scandal, but about 2 years later, in November 2021, something unexpected happened. João, the betrayed husband, suddenly and mysteriously disappeared. In the first few days, everyone in town thought that João had just gone away for a while to take care of business. But when he did not return to the shop where he worked and no one could contact him, worries began to rise. João's family, after days of unsuccessful attempts to contact him, decided to report the matter to the police. The search for João officially began, with the help of the townspeople. They searched every street, abandoned house, and forest on the outskirts of town, but found no trace of him. João's mysterious disappearance sparked suspicion and speculation, but no one could have predicted the terrifying secret that awaited him. After weeks of intense investigation, in December 2021, the police finally discovered the horrifying truth about João's mysterious disappearance. His dismembered body was discovered in an abandoned house in the woods on the outskirts of Rio de Janeiro. The police quickly sealed off the scene and began collecting all the evidence, which gradually revealed the involvement of Father Philippe. Felipe's fingerprints were found on items in the house, especially a hacksaw used to dismember the body. This was an important piece of evidence proving his presence at the crime scene. In addition, João's call and text messages before his disappearance showed that he had received many messages from an unknown phone number, which, after tracing, the police determined belonged to Felipe. These messages showed that Philippe had lured João to the abandoned house under the pretext of need to talk about the past at the scene. Not only João's blood, but also a small amount of other blood was found. Through DNA testing, the police determined that this blood belonged to Felipe, possibly because he was injured during the crime. A witness living near the forest area said that he saw a middle-aged man driving into the abandoned house on the day João went missing, and the witness's description matched Felipe's appearance. The car's license plate was identified as Felipe's, further strengthening the incriminating evidence. The investigation also revealed Felipe's clear motive. After losing his job and reputation due to the exposure of the incident, he harbored a grudge against João, the man who had ruined his life. During the investigation, the police also found a personal diary of Felipe's vengeful thoughts and plans for revenge. With all the evidence of fingerprints, bloodstains, text messages, and witness statements, the police had no doubt Philippe was the one who killed and dismembered João. At the end of December 2021, Philippe was arrested, ending his life of seclusion and closing the horrific murder case that had shocked the community. At the police station, after his arrest in late December 2021, Father Philippe finally confessed. During a lengthy interrogation, he recounted the details of the incident in a cold manner, making no attempt to hide or deny his guilt. Philippe confessed that, since losing his position and honor, he had been unable to let go of his hatred for João, whom he considered the cause of his downfall. Philippe had carefully planned to lure João to the abandoned house. He sent anonymous messages to João, pretending to want to reconcile and talk about what had happened. When João arrived, Philippe attacked him, leading to a fight. In a fit of rage, Philippe killed João on the spot. After the crime, he tried to hide the body by dismembering João and hiding the body parts in the abandoned house as a form of revenge. Felipe's detailed confession brought the case to a close, leaving everyone shuddering at the cruelty of a once respected man. In March 2022, Father Filippe's trial took place in the town where the shocking incident took place. The case captured the attention of the entire community, with many people coming to watch the trial. Over several days of trial, evidence of fingerprints, text messages, and Filippe's detailed confession were presented, leaving no doubt about his guilt. Filippe sat silently in the dock, his face stony and unrepentant. It took the jury only a short time to reach its verdict. With all the evidence incontrovertible, Filippe was sentenced to life in prison for the murder and dismemberment of João. The case ended with a harsh sentence for the once respected priest, but the consequences for the community and those involved will last forever. This case is not only a story of betrayal and personal vendetta, but also exposes the darkest corners of the human heart, where the worst emotions can erupt and lead to tragedy. Once a respected priest, Filippe turned into a murderer, losing his honor, love, and the life he had built. Cold-blooded revenge left a family broken, a man dead, and a small community deeply traumatized. After following this entire case, what do you think? Is Mariana the key to the case, the cause of this tragedy? Or does everything actually stem from Father Filippe's hatred and lack of control? Please share your thoughts in the comments section below. On behalf of the channel team, we would like to thank you for accompanying us throughout the process.